G'day, welcome to my Homebrew Wednesday video. It's actually about video 3 or 4. I haven't posted anything since my video 1. I will get them up. I've just been very busy. Excuse my creaking chair. Yeah, that'd be right. I just wanted to review one of these Cooper's Celebration Ales before I finish them all. I've already had one slab and I managed to drink them. I think I reviewed one on Craig's channel. I'm not sure how that went. I was half fired, I think. But I got another 6-pack last night. The bottle shop got some more in because they've been selling out. The first slab we had was the last slab that was there, and they were only in the shop for a day or two. So they must have got more stock in, which is good. It's not focusing. Put it in the middle, it might. It's Cooper's Celebration Ale. They're celebrating their 150th year by, releasing this beer. They've had a few things in South Australia to celebrate it, parties and stuff. I've noticed that they've dropped this to is it 355 ml instead of 3? It's only 20 ml difference, but you know, when you buy a slab, you know, it makes a difference, and it's just worth knowing. There's not much it says on the bottle. Brewed with all malt and the finest of hops for the crisp bitterness and fragrant aroma, this ale is a celebration of flavour enhanced by the distinctive esters of our remarkable Cooper's yeast. So besides the last line about Cooper's yeast, it says what just about every beer says on it. Brewed with all malt. But I was excited. I was really excited to try this. I've heard a lot and read a lot about it as well. So we'll crack it open and see how it pours. My Buckley's glass, I don't know if it'll show up. Maybe I'll put it on my shirt. Nah, it's too much light in here. They're another good brewery in at Healesville in Victoria in Australia that I've been to. It's just a shed. It's just a shed, but it's one of the better ones. They brew a nice beer, and a really small. It's all hand capped. Last time I was there, it wasn't that long ago. Been there a couple of times. You've got little, not little creatures, White Rabbit just around the corner from it, and you have Coldstream, is it? And Hargraves Hill, not too far away. The main brewery at Hargraves Hill burnt down, but they've still got a restaurant in Yarra Valley there where they serve the beer. We're a really nice restaurant. It's expensive, but it's worth it. The food is. We don't usually go to poshy flash restaurants, but the beer's worth it and the food's worth it there. It's really, really nice. So if you end up coming to Australia or you're in Victoria, go down to these couple of breweries. They're all in 5-10 minutes of each other. They can get a pretty messy day. I think I went there with the wife for a birthday or something, and by the third day, well, she wasn't speaking to me. But that's all right, because I don't think I was in any condition to understand her. That's what I said. Buckley's is good. They're just a garage, a big garage. They usually make 4 or 5 different beers, but it's all really old machinery and small batches, and they're good blokes. Go in and see them all the way down there. You'll have a good weekend if you go there. You just got to find the breweries. They're a little bit hidden. This one's in an industrial estate, but it's worth finding it. It's worth finding it. All the way down there at Healesville. Anyway, here we go. See how it pours. Get in the camera a little. got a lot of head. Got a lot of head. You can see the colour. It's a bit cloudy like most Cooper's beers. I was going to get the torch out, but the colours, to me, what I can see at the moment, showing up fairly well. It's a little bit darker at the top than what it looks to me on camera, but if you can see that colour at the bottom, it's sort of a orange, amber as you would say for beer, I suppose, not orange. Looks nice in the glass. So typical. So it's not quite as pink as other Celebration ales, if you know what I mean. They've got a pinky, more reddy sort of colour than this. Like typical of Coopers, it's and to me it's either why you like Coopers or you don't. Very yeasty. The yeast has these esters that are you don't really. Well, I haven't found other beers where you find the yeast pops out so strongly. I'm guessing there is, but and it is, and it's nice. There's some. It's not as hoppy as I was wishing from all the things I'd read about it being really hoppy. It's a lot hoppier than their other beers, but I can't tell. The yeast to me, it might be just my nose, it takes over everything. It's nice though. To me, it's sort of halfway between the normal Cooper's sparkling ale and halfway between one of the dark ales. It sort of sits in the middle there. You can taste the malt still. You can taste it. But it's a nice drop. It's a nice drop. It's a little bit different. But it's got that Cooper's trademark yeast taste. So if you like that, you're going to like this. So I think you are. It's a lot nicer than their sparkling ale, in my opinion. And I'm not knocking their sparkling ale by saying that. I'm just saying this is a lot nicer. It's similar in the glass, a little bit darker, as I said, a little bit more orange. But no, it's a nice drop. I'd out of 10. I'm doing one out of 10. I've noticed other people do it out of 5, but it doesn't leave you much space. And I'm not always nice to people. I like to show the bad ones and the good ones. I understand people want to be positive all the time, but you know, beauty's in the eye of the beer holder. And some are good, in my opinion, and some aren't so good. And this might get let down a couple of points just from the disappointment factor that they claim to have a lot of hops and stuff that in some of the promos I read. Maybe that was Cooper's, maybe that was the writers of the actual articles I read. I'm not sure. We don't get a lot of Cooper's advertising here in Victoria. But it's nice. It's nice. I'd give it probably 7 out of 10. Yeah. It's hard to say, but it tastes nicer than the sparkling. But the yeast, to me, covers just about every difference that Coopers do, and it's just a little bit disappointing. But that's their trademark, and I'll never knock Coopers because they brew a good beer. I'd in no way call them a small brewery or a craft brewery, but they're just another one of the players today. They just brew a better beer than everyone else out of the major players, plus all their homebrew stuff that we love. Not sure if we love it because we haven't got any other choice. But, it's a nice drop there. I'll top that up. There's yeast in the bottom. There's not as much as I would expect. You can't. Is it going to show up? There's not much in the bottom. It's not going to work. Which it even looks a bit, a little bit hoppy. And actually, while we're tasting, I might as well talk about the different things that happen in a real, like, official, if you can call it, beer tastings. Like they might talk about esters, and we should start with esters because it's what Cooper's yeast is famous for, and it's a fruity or fragrant, sort of floral taste to the beer. It's a bit hard at explaining flavours. It's a lot easier when you've got a beer there and someone goes, this one's florally, and so you're tasting it. Oh yeah, now I know what you understand what you're saying. But well, that's one of the history. The other thing's hoppy, which is usually I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my beer notes. Grassy or citrus or resiny, even woody flavours you can get from hops, and sulphury, which is usually, that's a bad one. You don't want to get the sulphury. I mean, some beers can add a little bit to make it just a difference to their beer, but normally you don't want it in your beer. I don't anyway. It can be from being sunstruck, like you shouldn't have your beer in the sun. It makes them taste disgusting. I've had it in pubs or bars before, even from the wrong lighting in fridges. If they put grow lights, it sounds funny, but the wrong lights in their fridge can make the beer taste horrible. And you open it and you smell it, and you can smell it straight away. If the pub's any good, you can just give it back and say, give us another beer. That's off. And the maltiness, of course, malty, warty, grainy. There's all slight difference in tastes. They can be sour, which, the sour beers are getting very popular these days. But it can also be from, well, being, infection. It can be pungent or acidic, sour milk, even vinegary. I personally aren't into that. But and the other thing they can also, another flavour term is sweet, which is can be syrupy, honey, or caramel. The other flavours you get when people usually say sweet. Seven. A bitter, of course, the bitterness. Too much hops boiled for too long, whatever. Your beer hasn't sat for long enough. But bitter is another flavour term, of course. Chlorine is another term they use for bitterness. Or, it sits in there. Harsh. You can get harsh flavours. There's a lot of different ones. Astringent, metallic. Tannins, when you taste the tannins when grains have been boiled or somehow the tannins have been extracted. It's usually from maybe too much grain husk or whatever hasn't been sieved out before you boil, and you'll get a lot of tannins. The other thing in tasting is the body, and that's when a beer can taste thin or thick or anywhere in between. And you'll know that if you have like a Mexican type what is it, the cerveza or whatever, they're really sort of thin. But then you go to like a Guinness or something, and they're thick. It's pretty easy to understand. Although you still can have a heavy body and a light coloured beer. I won't go into that now, but yeah. And the other thing, the best thing about beer tasting, especially compared to wine tasting, because wine tasting is supposed to spit it out. In beer tasting, there's always a section for drinkability. And there's only one way you can assess drinkability. It's by drinking it. And but a lot of things come into that. It's you know, if the odor of the beer is a bit off, you're not going to want to drink a lot of it. The taste and the after palate. You know, after you had a mouthful, as long as it, you know, some beers can taste great when you got them in your mouth, and then you sit back a couple of minutes later and go, oh, gee, that aftertaste is bad. And you know, if they're easy to drink again, if you're going to want one again, your drinkability score is going to be up. And you know, I'm a bit different to most. A lot of people rate Coopers really high in drinkability, and I don't. To me, Coopers, I think it's the yeast thing. And I'm not talking the stuff you make from the kits, because I'm talking the beer you buy from them. If it's anything there, I'll have a session on it. But to me, they're that yeasty that should say, only maybe half a dozen will do me of them. And yeah, drink responsible. But you know, other beers I can drink a lot more. I shouldn't say that. Drink responsibly though. And I'm talking over a long period of time. That's all day. Having meals, watching the footy, watching the car race, and whatever you want to do. Anyway, cool. That's it. Cooper's Celebration Ale. I raved on for a little bit about other rubbish. Cooper's Celebration Ale. If you can find it, try it. I wouldn't go running around the streets like I was for it. But if you like Coopers, I think you'll really like this. And a 7 isn't a bad score. I didn't want to be too negative. 7 isn't a bad score. I just had my expectations up from reading so much about it for so long. But anyway, take it easy. Cheers. 17, as the crew say. Out.